Well, pedals and shoes. Well, which ones are best? It depends really, like most things in cycling and most things in all endurance sports. There are pros and cons to everything. There are basically three types. There's road pedals and shoes, which have basically, they're sort of difficult to walk in, but modern road shoes often have rubber bits underneath, so you can walk to some extent in them. They're usually very stiff, so not much flexibility to move your foot, and that can make it uncomfortable for some people. Then there's a sort of mountain bike style, and the road pedal tends to be a bit bigger, and therefore you've got sort of a bigger area to press down on. However, that doesn't really make much difference if you're using a high-end road shoe, because the soles are so stiff that you wouldn't feel the pedal through them anyway, and it's more of a perhaps more of a historical thing to have a bigger plate when the soles were more flexible. A mountain bike pedal, there are various types of road pedals and cleats that clip in, such as that, and this is a mountain bike pedal. This is a speed plate pedal, and these are pretty good, but they're very easy to unclip, so you have to be careful if you go with this. And this is a SPD cleat, so they don't work together. But so the way the mountain bike pedals and shoes work is that the cleat is smaller and tends to be set into some grip, or into the sole of the shoe, like it is on this one. And due to that, they're much easier to walk in, and they're more flexible. Some of them are more flexible and some of them aren't. And then you can get flat pedals. These are quite a good pair of flat pedals. They've got spikes in, mountain bike pedals, and they grip the shoe, and they're actually surprisingly effective. If you buy the cheaper plastic mountain bike pedals that don't have these spikes, then they don't grip the shoe so well, and they're not as good, and they're harder to produce power with. But these are pretty good, and I've found them to be fairly comparable with being clipped in. What you do have to watch is the spikes are very sharp, so you can easily cut yourself on them, so I have to be careful there. So which is best? Well, nowadays, if you're going on a bikepacking trip, a bikepacking race, or an ultraendurance event, or even perhaps a sportive where you're going to have to get off and wander about a bit sometimes, then there's not really a strong argument for road shoes and pedals. They're a little bit more efficient probably, they're a bit lighter usually. Road pedals are probably a little bit lighter, so you save a bit of weight, but you lose quite a lot of convenience. And if you compare this mountain bike shoe with this road shoe, you can see they're very similar. They're actually, they're the same colour scheme. They've both got a carbon fibre sole, they're both very stiff, and they're both designed for racing. One for mountain bike cross country racing and one for road racing. So what you lose in efficiency is marginal, you wouldn't notice the difference. So for sort of ultra endurance events and bikepacking, I don't really see a big benefit in road shoes unless you know you're not going to get off at all. So let's put those to one side. So mountain bike shoes, these are very stiff. They are quite difficult to walk in because the sole doesn't bend. I can't bend it. See, I'm trying quite hard. I'm not the strongest man in the world, but they're pretty difficult to bend, and they're very stiff, and that can make them a little bit uncomfortable sometimes on longer journeys. They don't have much padding inside either, but they're very efficient, so they're more efficient. As you can get, these are also quite a stiff shoe, but a bit more flexible and much easier to walk in. But they've got the same cleat system, and therefore they clip in just the same and work just the same in that respect. You can see there's a bit of flexibility in the toe, and that makes them easier to walk in and perhaps a little bit more comfortable and a bit more versatile, and you don't lose a lot in efficiency. And these are much the same, except the sole unit the cleat is set into the sole unit. I suppose if you've got a bit less tread, they're not quite as efficient for walking about in, but they do work quite well on a flat pedal because they've got the same sole unit as the as the shoes that are designed for flat pedals. These are 510, and as a consequence you can get things like you can get pedals that have got a clip system on one side and a flat system on the other side, or even downhill pedals which have got both a combination of a clip in and a foot plate. So this gives you the option of using the flat side or a flat pedal or a clip-in pedal, and that can be quite useful. And certainly one of the athletes I coach that does a lot of bike packing, she's moved to that system by accident because her pedal's broken. She had to buy new ones in a race, and now she swears by the system. So that's great. That's a great system. So these are the sort of mountain bike style that you clip in, and various levels of comfort, and you can get more flexible ones than these as well. I mean, these are still pretty stiff. I quite like downhill shoes because they tend to be quite stiff and also quite comfortable, but they provide a lot of stability. And if you're slightly weak in the ankles or your pedaling action's a bit, if your knee tends to come in and you tend to pronate a bit on the bike, then actually they're providing quite a lot of nice stability. And also they're pretty good for, fatigue levels can build up on descents, so it's pretty useful to have that sort of support and shock absorbance, particularly when you're starting to get tired. And these aren't particularly heavy either, about the same weight as the race shoe, which is quite surprising. And then out and out flat pedal. These are a downhill shoe, 510 Sam Hill, and these are great actually. I can produce about the same power with using these shoes with these flat pedals as I can on a clipped-in system on the mountain bike, on the same bike. So the benefits are more in the handling, the more you're not likely to jump off the pedal as easily. Having said that, if your foot does come off the pedal with a flat pedal, it's much easier to sort of get it back on and regain control. Not having a plate does make it a little bit easier to walk in, so if you've got hiker bike sections, then that's pretty useful if you're doing an off-road race. And certainly Jenny Graham, one of the people I coach, she uses flat pedals for mountain bike events, and she's done pretty well, as you probably know. The problem with these shoes, these particular shoes, is they are really heavy and they sort of feel a bit clumpy. But I've got fairly dodgy ankles, and as a consequence I don't mind that so much, and actually the additional weight isn't that critical. So that's it. I say it's not critical. It's basically because if you think even a fairly light female weighs 45 to 50 kilos, I weigh 70 to 80 kilos. Your bike weighs 7 to 10 kilos, and you've got kit on it which is another 5 kilos. So you're looking at 50, 70, somewhere between 75 and 100 kilos for the whole setup. So a few hundred grams on a pair of shoes is not so critical, particularly if they're more comfortable and more effective for you. So it's worth prioritising comfort and efficiency. These shoes are very stiff, not as stiff as the clip shoes. These are not new, so they've worn a bit, but they're certainly stiff enough in the area that counts, and as a consequence they're a pretty efficient shoe. But as I said previously, go for the spike pedals and not the cheaper plastic pedals without spikes if you want to go for a flat pedal. And that's it. So road shoes, very stiff, very efficient, very light, but probably not that much better than a high performance mountain bike shoe, which is also very stiff and very light, but much easier to walk in if you need to, and you're not likely to fall over and break your neck in a shiny supermarket floor if it's wet with these shoes, whereas with these you might. If you're looking for more comfort, more flexibility and easier to walk in, if you're maybe doing a lot of hiker bike or something like that, or you need to move around in the evenings and you don't want to take 2 pairs of shoes, you can get away with 1 pair of shoes with these, but these are sort of more comfortable, more versatile. Then a slightly less stiff mountain bike shoe can be good, and flat pedals are great, particularly if you're doing a lot of hiker bike. You can get a nice grippy sole that works well with the spike pedals. And that's it. I hope that's helpful, and if it is and you like the videos, please subscribe, click the bell, and I'll see you in the next video.